Our Dragon Ball expert better be careful. Another aliens after her knowledge in this timeline. Welcome or welcome back to the Butter Bunch. My name is Jacob Butter, back with another Dragon Ball What If discussion. Just to preface before I start actually reading the script, just so that everyone know, the reason that the background looks different and I'm holding the microphone on my face and everything is because I'm not recording with my phone at the moment because I am actually on holiday right now. This is just, the attic of the house that we happen to be in. And I forgot to take a tripod with me. So I'm doing it like this instead. And honestly, to be fair, it might be a slightly better format. I'm not entirely sure about trying to hold the microphone in my face. That's a little bit annoying, but I don't know. I'll get used to it. Actually, it's kind of interesting. I'm currently in Spain, and for the first time ever, I've actually been watching Dragon Ball Super because there's reruns of it on TV, because Spain has a different TV plan than other places where you have to get it on cable and etc. So it's interesting because I remember a while ago that they said that Dragon Ball Super was actually banned in Spain. So I guess that ban must have been lifted because it's part of the universe survival arc, and I know for a fact that that's around the time it got banned because of the episode with Master Roshi. So I don't know. I ended up watching Dragon Ball Super out of order. I was waiting for the right moment, but there you go. I guess I can technically say that I watched part of that series now. I'm still not prepared to do what ifs about Super, by the way. So if anyone is actually going to ask me to do any Super-related what ifs, you're going to have to keep waiting for a while because I'm still watching through Z very slowly while the other what ifs I'm doing are catching up. That's how I'm going about this. I've said this before, but I wasn't expecting the what ifs to actually take off the way they did on this brand new channel, and did not consider myself, unlike Bulma here, any sort of Dragon Ball expert. So I have been slowly doing my homework as I've been going along, honestly. I've watched a few parts of it as a kid, and I'm filling in the blanks later on. Anyways, let's get back to the story at hand. Now with another Raditz and Nappa story successfully out and awaiting your votes for who joins the next generation, check out that poll if you missed it, it's time to return to the original story meant for you hopeless romantics out there. A story the showrunners of OG Dragon Ball may have thought would happen at the time before Toriyama did his thing, and a tale which I have spun into what I hope is a new version of the mystical adventure which involves Goku's chosen partner actually doing something in the series. What if Goku married Suno? The last three parts have filled in the blanks about how they met and moved in together in West City, and how their married life goes at first, and how they tragically met their demise at the hands of Raditz, who proceed to continue threatening the planet for quite some time. That time, though, may be coming to an end, as part 4 of this story now begins. We last left the partners in death after their encounter with Princess Snake, with Suno proving herself to be a valuable asset in the face of deception, as well as much less gullible than her husband. I know, right? Who would have thought? At long last, they made it to King Kai's planet, much sooner than they normally would, and crash land on the surface in 2 messy heaps. Once they manage to get their feet again, King Kai himself comes to greet them, and asked how exactly they managed to run all of Snake Way. Remember, no one else had done it since King Yama himself. Suno proceeds to regale the journey and the ordeal with Princess Snake from part 3 of this series. Goku was pretty surprised to be filled in on all the details he'd missed, because his doting wife had neglected to mention just how hoodwinked he had been. King Kai was in hysterics.
Ah, that's hilarious. I know comedy, but you two are an amazing double act. So, what then? You guys want some train or something?
Without meaning to, Suno had fulfilled King Kai's condition. So, they're able to get on with trying to capture bubbles, and they stagger across the planet attempting to get used to gravity. Alas, things are not as funny back on Earth. But they're certainly about to get as heavy. Raditz is about to follow through with his promise and pay the Doctor a visit. Kami caught him flying towards West City at top speed and sent his new pupils down to the site. Raditz crashes to the ceiling of the main Capsule Corp building, demanding to be taken to Dr. Briefs at once. A scared employee that he accosts utters that Dr. Briefs isn't here. The entire family left moments ago. This was true. Since the Z Warriors can't all fly yet, at least not very well, Kami sent word out to Bulma telepathically to come and pick them up in a plane. Knowing they'd be used as leverage, she took Gohan and her parents with her, along with their pets, of course. Remembering his scouter is somewhere nearby, Raditz frantically goes off in search for that now. He's getting a little manic and determined beyond belief to find the Dragon Ball expert. This sounds familiar. As fate would have it, a short while later, he finds it just where he'd thrown it off and activates it after a couple of tries, since the battery had been drained over the past months. Side note, yes, it has been months. I know Raditz's journey wouldn't have taken that long in reality, but let's say he took his time investigating and traveling the world. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense the pilots in Death got to King Kai already. It also means the Z Fighters' powers of flight may not be as flimsy as I led you to believe. Well, some of them have progressed much further than others. Ten Shinhan and Chaozu had pretty much mastered this ability, considering they already knew how to levitate from their days in the Crane School. So, once they sense Raditz coming after the group, it's this pair that step out and cut him off midway. Raditz zooms through the sky at speeds the main group could only dream of, for now at least. So the interception happens more like at the 3/4 point of the journey. Ten Shinhan positions himself right in front of the Saiyan's trajectory, and the pair end up crashing to the sand dunes below. And yes, I'm making it sand dunes this time, enough wastelands already, Toriyama. Raditz stands up first and starts charging an attack to retaliate against Ten Shinhan, but before he can launch his Saturday Crush, he suddenly bends over, clutching his abdomen, having suddenly come down with a terrible stomachache. Chaozu's psychic powers are coming in handy, now amplified under Mr. Popo's tutelage. With this distraction, the Tricops can get up and rush over to perform a machine gun punch on Raditz. If you don't know, that move is kind of like Furious Stripes in Pokemon. Side note, Masako X just posted What If Khalifa Was Goku's Daughter Part 3, 3 days before I'm filming this, and I didn't actually realize. I guess I just missed that video, so I watched the first 10 minutes before filming this, and it turns out that in that one, Chaozu also gets a little bit more of protagonism. It's not against Raditz, but still, I just thought I'd mention that. It's either Masako does something before me, or I'm just ever so slightly ahead of him mentioning something and deciding not to do it himself. That's just my life, I guess. Anyways, back to the fight with Raditz and Ten Shinhan. Eventually, since Chaozu let go by this point, Raditz is able to start blocking Tien's moves and kicks the Tricops away. Only this time, he knows to round on Chaozu before he uses powers on him again. But the diminutive martial artist has other plans this time. He sinks into one of the dunes, closing the sand around him, then turns the entire thing into a tornado, cloaking himself and pelting the Saiyan into a stupor. Still enraged, Raditz powers up and uses his own energy output as a counterforce to the sand. Ten Shinhan closes his eyes and starts attacking Raditz again using his other senses, something Mr. Popo also taught him. His Dodon Ray hits Raditz's aura, but the Saiyan is putting out too much energy to be affected by that, or by Tien's flurry of melee attacks. Tien eventually stopped, realizing that either his best friend or his enemy would have to tire out soon. Of course, it's Chaozu who runs out first, and Raditz lets the rest of the sand fall off him as he catches his breath. With greatly reduced ki, the Saiyan thinks to retreat again, only to now be cornered by the rest of the Z Fighters, who all flew/hovered eventually over to the area. Well, Yajirobe didn't, but they'll be fine without him. Chaozu, Ten Shinhan, Krillin, and Yamcha. All of Earth's strongest living defenders were now in front of Raditz, and with nowhere to go and nothing to do against them anymore, Raditz is finally toast. But not before warning the crew that Vegeta and Nappa were already on their way, and it would only be several more months until they arrived on Earth. And so, at last, he heads off to the next dimension. News of this and of the warning eventually reaches Goku via Kami, so even though Raditz has been defeated, Goku still gets to prepare for the fight, which encourages him to train even more to be ready to go back. As for Suno, well, this recent development is not good for her at all. Partially because the Earth was still at risk, in fact at greater risk, but also because the gap between her husband and herself was starting to widen. She still hadn't fully gotten used to the gravity on King Kai's planet, and there was Goku already having moved on to attempting to hit Gregory. Motivated by this, she focuses her energy on her legs, jumps forward, cuts Bubbles off, and grabs hold of him. King Kai takes notice of this, not giving any hints as to if he was impressed or not, and takes Suno aside to speak to her. Why have I written King Kami in the script? That's not right. It's King Kai.
You're gonna hurt yourself if you carry on like this. Focusing your ki on a couple of parts of your body is fine. But if you do it to cheat gravity training, you're gonna hurt yourself. You can't take shortcuts to get stronger.
Suno wants to reply, but she glances over at Goku, hauling the massive hammer with all his might and struggling to even hold it behind him. But slowly, he achieves success, and Gregory is at least having to dodge. King Kai just doesn't get it. This is what she had to do to have a hope with Goku at all. But she nods politely and goes for a walk around the planet, waiting for her turn with the cricket. So everyone's doing their training, it seems. Z fighters on Earth, partners in death in the other world. We're kind of back to where we normally be. Huh. This feels weird for a butterfly effect-centric what-ifer like me. I mean, is there something I'm overlooking, perhaps? A few big changes in the last 4 parts that are going to make the next installment much more of a surprise? That's where we conclude things for the time being. But what did you all think? Did you enjoy the Z Fighters actually succeeding for once? Properly defeating a Saiyan after introducing the concept? Perhaps you're more interested in King Kai's warning to Suno and how everything is going to come together when the prince touches down. Let me know what you thought by means of liking or disliking and leaving your comments on where the discussion could go. I'll see you all soon enough for another Butter Bunch video. Do the bit.